Hey buds! So, I'm in the middle of my A-level exams right now, which obviously means that I've been playing loads of video games, because the only thing I do better than not working is procrastinating. Wait. And so, in the spirit of avoiding work and doing things, I'm also making a YouTube video about video games. Inception. So here is a list of my top 8 games that feature female protagonists, but first a note, I've not included games in this list where you can create your own character and select the gender in Skyrim or Fallout, anything like that, because I don't actually think those count as female protagonists. I'm talking about female protagonists in games where their femaleness drives the plot, etc. Let's get going. So number 1 on this list is a newish game called Life is Strange that's released by a company called Don't Nod and distributed by Square Enix, which you can get on Steam and the PlayStation Network and I think Xbox Live Arcade. Life is Strange is an episodic adventure game kind of in the style of Telltale games. You make choices throughout the game that affect the story. It also has quite a cool mechanic with time rewinding where you can move time backwards as you make decisions to unmake them. It also features some puzzle elements like an old point-and-click adventure game. The protagonist of this game is Max Caulfield. An interesting fact is that this game was originally pitched to a bunch of distributors who wouldn't accept it because it had a female protagonist and they wanted it to have a male protagonist to be more relatable. But Max is a really interesting character. She's quirky and fun in a bit of a hipster girl sort of way. Think Zooey Deschanel in 500 Days of Summer, but not really annoying, so that's always nice. Number 2, an oldie but a goodie, Metroid Fusion, probably my favourite Game Boy Advance game of all time. For me, Metroid Fusion is the peak of the Metroid series, basically when it's most like the film Alien, which is what I love. In it, we see Samus Aran, our heroine, exploring an abandoned space station whilst being chased by the X-version of herself. Of course she has to fight her usual assortment of aliens and blobs and flying squares, because it's the Game Boy Advance graphics, but she's also being relentlessly pursued by her shadow self, which makes it a really interesting game to play. Number 3 is one I've only recently got round to playing, which is the Tomb Raider prequel that was released in 2013. So far, the game's proven a little bit simple and a little bit quick-time eventy, but Lara Croft is a really interesting character, and they found an actual English voice actress who's not terrible. In a video game! I know! I really like her as a character. She's being vulnerable and interesting, while at the same time you can see the cool, I don't give a flip Lara Croft forming that we'd then see in the later games. Number 4 is Mirror's Edge. Another interesting game with a quite cool aesthetic, and that's non-combat orientated, which I always love. It's essentially an open free-running game, but with quite a cool plot about corporatic governments and also sisters, and I love sisters in games. Number 5, bit of an interesting one, Steam game I Am Bread, in which you literally play a piece of bread. How do I know the bread's female? Well, it's listed under the female main character tag on Steam. So, the game is surprising in that, unlike something like Goat Simulator, which is really just a joke, there's actually quite a lot of gaming in I Am Bread. You've got to try and traverse kitchens or living rooms while maintaining your edibility, so not touching the ground or ants or things, and then toast yourself perfectly. You can also cover yourself in butter and jam for bonus deliciousness points. Number 6 is a bit of a cheat, but BioShock Infinite's DLC Buried at Sea, Episode 2, in which you finally get to play as Elizabeth, who, let's be real, is the actually interesting character in BioShock Infinite. BioShock Infinite was one of the first games I ever played fully, and while there are lots of issues with the mechanics and the tone of it, I still think the story is fantastic, and that Elizabeth is a really interesting character, so it was great to finally get the chance to play as her. I'm not going to tell you too much about the plot of Burial at Sea for spoiler reasons, because it is incredibly spoilerable, but you really see her grow and develop, even if it's, not the same timelines. Number 7 is Tales from the Borderlands, which is the new entry from Telltale Games in the Borderlands franchise. Only half of the game has a female protagonist, but I'm counting it because I really like her. You play as Fiona, a grifter from the planet of Pandora in half the game. The other half you play as Reese, who's boring, though I do quite like his suit jacket. Again, you've got sisters in games, which is always fun. The plot's engaging, the dialogue's great, the voice acting is really good, as you'd expect from a Telltale's games, and it has that fun Borderlands universe style. Before I get to my 8th and top-rated game, I'm just going to give an honourable mention to Borderlands 2. I discounted Borderlands 2 from this game, partly because you can select multiple playable characters and not all of them are female, and also because it has a lot of issues in terms of representation, blah blah blah, but I do actually think it's quite an actively feminist game, and I really do like the female characters in it. In fact, I'm probably going to make a video just talking about female characters in Borderlands 2 and why I think it's a feminist game. However, now you get to know my best ever game with a female protagonist, number 8 on this list that won't surprise you if you've met me, Portal 2. Portal 2 even if I didn't have the female character criteria added on, would probably be top of the list. It's probably my favourite game ever. I'm not wild about games with loads of combat in. I prefer puzzle games, but I also like something that's action-y. Portal 2 is not a perfect game necessarily, but it's kind of perfect for me. But on terms of this list, Shell is a great protagonist in that she is powerful, strong, and we learn lots about her, even though she never speaks. But the real star of the game is Gladys, who's also female, sort of. Gladys as a sadistic robot, one of my favourite things. She has funny dialogue, we also get a lot of personality through her. It'd be quite easy to make her just a joke, and actually there's lots of depth there. And the way she interacts with Shell and that they mirror each other and we learn about their lives is a really interesting dynamic to play with. Subscribe if you love videos of me overanalyzing pop culture and wearing lots of checkered shirts, and click here on my face to get another list video, this time a top list of the 5 weirdest Flappy Bird clones of all time. Or you could do neither of those things and just live your life, but I'll always be thinking of you. Bye!